if you have a good rapport with the other realtor and you respect them, the deals will come together so much easier. Versus if you look at them as the enemy, then they're gonna feel that, and they're not gonna want to put a deal together with you.
Welcome back to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. Today, we're speaking with our highest producing real estate agent on our team for the last 5 years when it comes to GCI. He sold over 1,000 homes to date, and he's a father of 4. And what's really cool about him is his competitive nature. One last thing, he's my younger brother, Thomas Faris. Thomas, welcome to the call.
Great to be here.
So Thomas, I'm going to share a quick story before we jump into a little bit of your backdrop and what got you into real estate. Is I remember when you started, and this was back in 2012, and you came to me, you said, Mark, I just want to get good. And there's just, I still remember like it was yesterday, there was just burning desire to want to be successful. But maybe you could share a little bit about your backdrop there for the listeners, and then what actually got you into real estate.
Yeah, so I grew up in big family. There's 9 kids in our family, so I was a competitive hockey player growing up. So I competed in hockey, but not only competing there, I was competing at home with a lot of different siblings. We were very competitive. We did a lot of everything we did. We were competing against each other, and we were a very close family growing up. So when I saw my other brother, Joel, start into the business and he was doing well, that made me think, well, if he could do it, I can do it. And it was never this big aha moment where I said to myself, oh, I have to do real estate. I just thought, okay, I'll try this out. And I jumped into it and I just loved it right from the beginning.
Yeah. So there's 5 years age gap between you and I, and that was something that when we were going through all those years growing up, and we're competitive nature, right? We're both playing hockey, but that was something with you that you really had a really strong hockey background. You ended up winning a championship for the Junior C Allison Hornets team, and you did really well with that. What was it that you took from hockey that really helped you when it came to real estate?
So it was there's so many lessons you can learn from hockey, and I'm learning that now, putting my own kids through hockey. But there's so many things like team play. You never win a championship on your own. It comes down to the team and working together and getting along with people. And then there's also individual competition. You're competing against your other team members to earn the top spot on the team. And the better players got played more. That was just the way it was. And that's how you win hockey. So I was always trying to improve on every team I was on to be the best. And then, but also working together. So you're not trying to put people down. You're just trying to always build yourself up. And so over the years, playing hockey from 3 years old on, having good coaches, there's just so many lessons in the game of hockey that I was able to put into real estate. And so it was a really good backdrop for training to become a realtor. It's funny.
Can you share a little bit more about growing up on the farm, and can you talk a little bit about the hockey rink that Dad did?
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah. So we grew up on a farm, and it was a chicken farm. And one of the buildings they used to use to raise chickens, but as the farm evolved, we stopped doing that. And so this barn was then empty, and my dad turned it into an ice rink. So it was nice, big, high ceilings. We had boards, lights. It was out of the elements, which made a huge difference for all you guys that make hockey rinks out there. You know what the snow and the sun does to an ice rink. So we spent a lot of time out there growing up. And I remember with you, Mark, we used to practice our shots almost every day in the summertime. It was a great place to practice growing up.
Yeah, we were actually talking about it this morning, how the behind the net needs to be we'll say backed up with a large amount of wood, because it's just the pucks just chip away. Because you're talking about bringing a net for your son there, and maybe talk a little bit about kind of what the overall backdrop was, and we'll just say the back wall. What did the back wall look like?
Yeah. Well, we every net we ever had, the mesh, we'd shoot so many pucks, we'd get holes in the net. So the backdrop being the wall of the barn, whatever was there, you take 500 shots a day, you're gonna wreck whatever's there. So, anyways, it was the evolution of the wall growing over time, putting new pieces of wood up to stop the pucks from going out of the building.
It was funny before Dad put the boards up, right? Because there's those posts that when he first flooded it flooded that barn. There were posts up everywhere, and he flooded the whole barn. And eventually, he put boards up inside the post, so there was no posts in the middle of the ice rink. But I remember you really had to keep your head up, because you had these cement block posts, and then you had like that wood with the big, they were huge planks of wood that you had to really watch out for. And I remember this one time that I took a puck off the knee. It bounced off one of those posts. I just went down like a ton of bricks, which I think soon after Dad put the boards up there to prevent any further injury.
Yeah, that's funny. A lot of good memories there.
Yeah. And I think, Thomas, that was one of the things that to build on what you were saying about, hockey, was going out to the barn. There was a discipline that was built, going out time after time after time, working on your craft. And it's interesting because I really resonate with going on listing appointments, like the same way as taking shots. It's like getting your reps in. You do it over and over and over. And the more you do something, you start to get like a sixth sense on it, as in you start to pick up little subtle variations of things. And so this is where the more volume, and maybe you could talk a little bit about this, but the more reps that you get doing something, whether it's going on a listing appointment, whether it's showing a house to a buyer, whether it's speaking to a potential, a lead, to just having a regular conversation. When you start to have, hundreds and thousands of the same thing, you start to get really good. Just like we got really good at shooting pucks. How has that mindset played into your success over the years?
Yeah, big, huge. It's. I remember when I started, I would be nervous going on my listing appointments, and it was just an uncomfortable feeling. Who am I meeting with? What if I say something wrong? And the benefit was on the team. When I started, we did a lot of these appointments, and we met a lot of people. And so I was constantly meeting people, open houses. I did a lot of open houses, and it was just over time, it became more and more comfortable. And I was able to really listen as I got better to what the seller was telling me, and to listen to them and figure out, okay, how can I help them? And it was just a matter of, it wasn't something that it's a repetition thing. You have to just do it. It was, and going back to what you said about wanting to be good, it was just a time thing. I just had to do it over and over again. And so it's, for somebody that was starting out, I would say you just have to do the reps. You have to talk to as many people as possible, and it will come. You'll get better, because if you're not getting sales, you're not going to eat. So you gotta basically figure it out. You either do it and get better and stay in the business, or you don't and you get out. And so for me, I wanted to get better.
Yeah, Thomas, you said something really smart there. It's like, I was really listening to what they're saying. And it's interesting because I know we've had this conversation many times. Many times when you're speaking with someone, you can hear the words they're using, but there's a deeper level of listening. It's like empathetic listening, active listening, where you're listening to what they're saying, but you're also listening to the tonality in which and how they're saying it. And then you start to watch the body language of what they're saying. And then the the things they're not saying you can pick up on as well. So there's like a different level of listening that comes with reps, that you start to really get in tune with at the core of who they are and what they're trying to say. Because this is something that I've struggled with, Thomas, through the years. Is I know what I want to say, I know, but I can't get the words. Sometimes I don't communicate it exactly the way that I'm thinking it in my mind. And that's one of the things with having Joanna, as you know, my wife,
Yeah.
right? She's really good with, if I'm saying something to her and she's like, is this what you mean? I'm like, yeah, that's what I mean. And so she's helped sharpen me up through the years as well. But home sellers and buyers are not professionals at home selling and buying. That's not what they do every single day. And so this is one of the things why it's really a strength that I've seen in you through the years, is to have a seller that has maybe sold a few homes before, maybe it's their first home, and to really understand what it is that they need and what it is that they're telling you that is really important. And this is where, like, people, agents know that communication is really important, but we're talking at a whole other level. Like, when it comes to communication, we're talking like listening at a level that is beyond what it is they're saying. And that's where, when you get the reps in, you get the sixth sense Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Think and Grow Rich. And so that's one thing that I've seen in you that you've mastered through the years, which has obviously been a huge, is attributed to your success through the years.
Yeah, and really one of the ways that you can figure out what's important for them is just asking a lot of questions. Lots of questions. I've there's you can ask the same question but three different ways, and then it's like you get different answers each time, right? And so it helps you to really to hone in on what the seller is what's important for them, and really it comes down to, when you go in there, it's like putting my what's the best, like I want to do a good job for the seller, what's the best thing for them, and getting the information from them, and then coming up with the plan together that's going to help them, right? And so it's just a time thing of, over time you really can figure out what questions to ask and how to navigate that whole appointment.
Yeah, I love that. You said something that is very subtle that I just want to really highlight. You said we come up with the plan together. And I think that that's not discussed a lot. I think that many agents will come in and say, here's my plan. And other agents would be like, okay, you tell me what it is you want and I'll go do it. But I think, like, from a mastery standpoint, it's like, you have your skill set and your backdrop and experience, which I believe that home sellers and buyers, they want to be led, they want expertise, they know they're not an expert, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
bring your insights and you ask very clearly what they're looking for. And what's really interesting is when you come from a place of not like head to head, but side by side. It's, okay, let's build this plan out together. Still guiding them along the way, but at the end of it, it's like, yeah, we've created a plan together. And then you have ownership on both sides, because I've seen it before where the agent says, okay, tell me the plan, and then they go and execute. It's like, and then the agent points the finger at the client and said, well, that's your plan. It's like, see, that doesn't work. Now do my plan. Right. And so when you come up with a plan together, I think that's where you get the biggest buy-in from both sides. And you get, so the seller is actually on board with it. And that comes from asking a lot of really good questions, is what, you had mentioned earlier. That's smart.
Yeah. And then to add on to that, you could sell a house and do it rough and tough and get it done, and you get the job done, but they're not happy at the end, right? And so when you come up with the plan together, it's like, it's not just about selling the house. It's about creating this experience for them where it's like, that was great, I enjoyed that, versus, it's not about making the sale. It's like, done, see ya. It's like, let's do this together. We're going to get there. And, at the end of it, it's going to be great. You're going to feel good about it. And, we could work together in the future.
Thomas, can we go down? I want to go down that, sit there for a little bit in regards to creating an experience. Are there any examples where, when it comes to communication or, beyond, where, you think you see other agents doing something and you could see it's not delivering on that best experience for their client, and then how you have done things, maybe it's like an escalated situation, or it's like it's down to the wire when it comes to negotiation, or the home's not listing or selling, and some of the things that you do to create a great experience so that the client looks back and goes, wow, like Thomas, he's really good.
Mm-hmm. One thing is I try, if a client's reaching out to you asking for updates, you've almost, it's like you failed them. It's like you should be the one providing updates, even whenever there's no updates. And the most important time to give those updates is during a negotiation. So submit an offer and, they're wondering what's going on. And you think, if you give them until 9 p.m. tomorrow, that your client expects to not hear from you until 9 o'clock tomorrow, but really they're expecting to hear from you. So it's like, update, I haven't heard anything yet. The plan is likely we likely won't hear until this time. And then another update. And those are the moments that they remember. That's from my experience, is that they remember the negotiation. They remember that process out of everything. That's where their anxiety is the highest. And if you can give updates and just keep them posted, that goes a long way for them.
That's so good. I remember I was representing about 10 years ago. We were buying, a house that was like, I love this house. And I remember representing myself to put the offer in, and I was like a nervous wreck. I was, we were selling at that point. It was like close to 1,000 homes, and I'm still like, I haven't heard anything, and it's coming up to the deadline. I'm like, what's that agent? The stories that you tell yourself, right? What's the agent playing games? He's probably trying to sell it from under me, and why isn't he communicating? And I'm an agent, and I'm going through this, and so I think it's so smart what you said about updating the agent or updating the client, even if there's no update, and not waiting till the 9 o'clock deadline to give them an update. It's like earlier in the day, I haven't heard anything, I'm going to keep you posted. Even that, it just, if I would have had a text from the other agent, in that when I was buying my home, I would have been, everything would have been fine. Right. But it's like the unknown there, it creates such a huge vacuum of negative stories for clients. And I think you had said something really smart as well, of like, the anxiety is at its highest at the time of negotiation, because they're thinking they're either going to lose the buyer potentially, or lose the house that they want so bad. And, we're talking about hundreds, if not millions of dollars that, so it's at a whole other level when it comes to communicating.
Yeah. And just to add to that, you said it, but communicating with the other agent too, right? So giving agents updates. It's like your clients are obviously your number one focus, but if you can have agents out there that like working with you because you give updates, then down the road, if you have good rapport with these realtors, it's going to come back and serve your client in the future when you're doing a deal together down the road.
That's a mastery lesson right there. It's powerful. Totally agree. So let's go back to when you started with the team. What was it that like, what did the onboarding look like? What do you think it was that at the beginning helped you have a really strong start starting with the team?
Yeah. So the systems when I started were already in place. You had already built a really strong plan, and having the support and being taught what to do. I had Joel and Sabrina. She wasn't selling at the time, but she taught more on the paperwork side of things of what to do. But just having support was, I don't know how I would have done it any other way, starting on my own, because there's so many things. I really just needed to learn how to sell. And so really the process of joining the team is super easy.
Right on. So, Thomas, one of the things that a lot of agents, when they're out there, they just can't find business. So, how through the years for yourself with when it comes down to generating opportunities, right? So maybe you could share from the team, from your own personal, like what is it that you've done and do today to be able to generate business, have conversations, to be able to have appointments?
Yeah. So when I started, it was being there was a abundance of appointments and leads that we were going on consistently. So it was really just a matter of it's 2-3 appointments every day. So it was like drinking through a fire hose of learning. So now over time, I've transitioned more to a lot of it as my own business. Over the years, you sell over 1,000 homes. You have a lot of clients that you've worked with, and now my focus is on providing a ton of value for my clients and getting you get business through your network. And so a lot of the business now that I'm doing is from repeat and referral.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we, so when it comes down to you have a conversation and you're going into, say, an appointment, you go and you take the listing, right? And then you're on the market, and then the communication side of it, and then you negotiate. So between meeting them to the we'll say the negotiation side of it, where do you think that clients are really lacking in the overall industry, that you feel that we're really doing well to be able to fill a niche or fill a need out there in the marketplace when it comes to helping buyers and sellers?
Yeah, I think it's a consistency with our brand and the process, from showing up to a listing appointment, how we do the appointment, presentation, um, touring the home, building rapport with the client, to signing the listing, and then from there, the next steps. It's almost like the appointment is we present, but the where we really shine is once we leave, and then the team comes in. It's like the sellers, they like you at the beginning, but by the time you come back in later, it's like they really like you because they've seen this amazing service. It's like my team's coming in behind me, and it's almost making me look better, right? So, and that's I think what it is that it's predictable. Basically everything that we say we're going to do, we do, and better. And so from when the stager comes in, they show up and they do a great job. They really care about our client. And then from there, they book the next steps with the photography team. They come in and they're great people. They do a great job. And it's just boom, 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 listings done on the market. And it's like, wow, that was very efficient. And it's not this big hard thing. Whereas they envision when they go to list their house that it's going to be this big ordeal. And then we come in and it's like super easy. It's like, wow, look at this. Right. And so, and I think what happens is a lot of times sellers look at our listings and think, how am I going to get my house to be like that? And they think it's going to be this big process. And then they go through the process and they look back and say, holy jumping, that was easy.
I've never heard it that way. That's actually really good, that the clients think ahead. How am I going to get my house looking like that? And then when they go through the process, so it's like we help them believe in their house even more, and the delivery. And it's interesting because it's so accurate. Many times clients come after like, I don't want to sell my house now, right?
Yeah.
Kind of half joking, right? Because they see it online. Um, that's really good insight, Thomas. It's interesting where in the past, as we're building this out, was we used to outsource our stagers and photographers and our couriers as well. And it was interesting. We couldn't control the experience, like the courier would show up and, his hair would be all over the place and, he'd be late. And the stager was rude to the client, and then the photographer, the delivery of the quality wasn't there, and we had to send them back, and it was just like real, we'll say, like hodgepodge in regards to, it was hard to manage the expectation to keep it at that level, because you're going in, polished as the agent. Here's what we're going to do. And so over time, we were really forced to bring everything in house, and to have in-house stagers, photographers, videographers, couriers, even our sign installer. It's like everything is consistent. But that was not an easy feat, to be able to pull them all together, and then to be able to shorten the time frame from when the photos and videos are done to getting, the feature books done and delivered along the way. That took us years. I remember when we started doing like really high quality feature books for the listings, to help sell them when buyers came in. It used to take us like 2 to 3. You remember when it used to take us like a couple weeks to get those done and then deliver to the
Yeah.
client, right? It's like, oh, the client's like, oh, the house is sold, I don't need them now. It's like, yeah, I'll take one for a keepsake,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if you remember that,
Oh,
but
I remember
yeah.
clearly. It was like, here's the books, but you're delivering the books with a sold sign. So, but it's amazing now that they're done as it's going on the market, before it goes on the market. So
No, that's it, 100%. So that's really good insight. So Thomas, one of the things that I think some people might think is like, oh, you're family, you're a brother, and it would just hand it to you. And what a lot of people don't know is when you started, the conversation with you was, listen, the bar's higher for you. The bar's higher for you, and there's no like special treatment, and people are watching you to see how you work. And like, if you're not willing to play up to the level, like, this isn't going to work. And it was like and what has been such a blessing for me is you took that at the beginning, and you never look back, because you've always, the bar, it was always way past the bar. Like you set like a whole other expectation for yourself. And what was a blessing for me is that I never had to come to you and say, listen, you're falling below the bar in regards to how you're performing, how you are, the culture. There's no ego along the way. You've just been man on a mission to keep raising the bar each and every day. And I'll tell you, like, everything that you've got for, like, you've taken the system, but you've worked on it, and you've created, and you've taken it to this mastery level, which is a beautiful thing for me as your older brother to see. And it's to see that growth in you through the years, from I want to get really good to selling. Your average sale price is $1 million, which is above our overall average. We're going to circle back on that. But in any given year, what's the approximate sales volume you would do in a year from a volume standpoint?
anywhere 65 million to, I think one year was close to 100 million.
Yeah. So we're talking big numbers here, and that you're doing, and that, so you've come a long way from not even being in any sales background at all to selling millions and millions of dollars worth of real estate.
My mindset coming in was, my two older brothers are selling over 100 homes a year. So I wasn't comparing, and I started on a team, so I didn't really have, I was 25. I remember hearing from sellers that I was too green to represent them, and everyone wanted to work with Mark, right? And so those were the challenges I faced. But I was comparing to 100 plus sales per year. So I was, my second year I did 75 sales, and I thought, well, Mark did 150. So I was like, it, it was just, I think the big thing was I was comparing to a high bar. And so I didn't realize what the industry average was at the time. I really didn't know. I didn't think about it. It was just like, I'm comparing to what my brothers are doing. So this, if they can do it, I can do it. And so that's kind of how I thought about it at the beginning.
So cool. It's is very cool to hear, the perspective at when you're going through, because we never really had this conversation yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we're capturing this right now. So Thomas, doing the sales volume that you're doing and the number of transactions you're doing, what does a typical day look like? Because this one of the things that you've been amazing at is being able to do massive production, yet having your family as a priority, right? And so, can you maybe share what a typical day looks like for you?
So typical day, I we have breakfast every morning together as a family. That's like, I would say 90% of the time we eat together. We sit down, like all four kids, we sit together, get the kids on the bus, and and then from there I come to the office. So I'm always at the office. I basically make that my every morning get to the office. That's just, before 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is like, that's when I need to be there. And then from there, it's just, making my calls, going on appointments, and then during the day, negotiating offers, looking at what's on the market, just looking at my listings, who where can where can we adjust things to get something that's sold, what's close to selling, who needs to buy a home, and just focusing on that. And then 4 to 6 o'clock every day I'm home. Like, I go home every night for dinner as well. So we're 2 meals a day that we're sitting together, which I think has worked really well for the family, that consistency. And then the evenings, you're typically negotiating deals or maybe going on appointments. But I do try at this time to get all of my appointments during the day. Like, I try to do everything during the day if I can without having to go on evening appointments, because with 4 kids under 10, that time is more difficult in our home.
Yeah. And I would imagine, by knowing that you have to be done by 4 o'clock, Parkinson's law says that you're going to condense and finish your work in the time that you allot for it, right? So I would imagine that would give you quite a bit more urgency in getting the work done.
For sure. And between 4 and 6, it's I remember you taught me this. It's like, nothing super important happens between 4 and 6. It's like this window of time where it's not urgent. If it was urgent, it would have been brought up before 4. And if it comes up at 4:30, it can wait till 6:30, right? And so that time has been very valuable for me. It's just it allows me to feel like I'm not missing out on my family life, and so that's been huge for me.
Well, that just shatters any sort of mindset for real estate agents that, I can't go home. I'm too busy, right? And I gotta stay at the office. And the reality is you can schedule around making that happen. So what helps you make that happen when you're going on a day to day, where some agents, their whole days would just be taken up, whereas you've created discipline and maybe some rules and some tactics to be able to keep that in a consistent basis? What's helped you maintain that schedule even when you get really busy?
So first off is making it a priority and not having it an option to move. It's just like, it's like, I can't do a listing appointment at 10 p.m. It's like, we just don't do that. Like, it's not a time that can be done. And so keeping the calendar blocked off, if something comes in and that's the time when they can meet, typically people can meet at a different time, right? And it's that being, asking them if they can change the time, right? And most people can. And I think when you're new and you're starting out, you feel like, I'm just going to do whatever the client wants, and that's really not, a lot of times it's not a huge deal if it's at a different time, and you just need to ask, right? And so I would say making it priority. And even if, for me, I would drive home. It's a 15-minute drive, and if I'm going the opposite way in the evening, I'll still go home, drive home and eat, and then go back out again. And so super important. I think that the most important thing is the consistency for the family, and you're not letting them down, because if that's not going well at the home front, then your business will definitely suffer. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, if my family life is good, then I can do a lot better job for my clients.
Yeah, that's a beautiful mindset, and it's an accurate one too. And another thing I'm going to add to how I've seen you work through the years is there's an intensity that you bring when you come into work. It's like I'm there and I'm there to work, and there's like a
Mhm.
seriousness and an intensity that you go about attacking the priorities. So not attacking clients, but attacking the work that needs to be done, because you can go into work kind of wishy washy about it, or you can go into it with this laser beam focus of here's what I need to get through. I need to connect with these clients, and here's the main message. Here's what I want to communicate to them. I'm clear what the calls are about. I'm clear what the results from those calls are. And I'm going to go about it in a systematic and intense way so that you're not getting blown around when emails and texts and things come up that other agents would get blown around
Mhm.
with.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Thomas, one of the things that I've also noticed about you is your strong mindset. So, what helps you maintain a strong mindset, especially over the last few years? Real estate agents, it's been tough. It's been tough for agents overall. The number of sales have dropped pretty much in half from the top of the market, and it's harder to get sales. What helps you maintain a strong mindset?
So just being intentional about what you're watching, listening to, and focusing on. For me, I have a goal card. I know that I go over in the morning and at night, talking about what I want to accomplish that year. And so just not losing focus of what the goal is for the year. And so if you're doing that when it comes time to make that call, negotiate that deal, knowing that these are the numbers that we need to hit, then you go about everything in a different manner when you know what the end goal is. And so, keeping that top of mind and not forgetting about that, because whether it's a good market or not, if you have a goal of hitting a certain number of sales, you're going to make that happen. And so yeah, so that's for me, that's been huge. The goal card, and just keeping top of mind what the mission is.
Yeah, 100%. Which is for you, what's the overall mission? What does that look like for you, if from a goal standpoint?
So 75 for me this year, it's 75 firm sales by December 31st, 2026. And so that, and then on top of that, strong relationship with my wife, right? So those are the things I focus on, and then everything else comes together and fills in from there. But those are the main things that I'm thinking about on a day to day.
Yeah. And so this is so powerful because, there's a lot of agents, you ask that question, what is the goal for this year? And it's like, well, I just want to get, I want to get, I want to improve. I want to, I'm going to work on this area versus like a very specific goal. And so I actually did a podcast. If you go back to one of the beginning podcasts, and there's one on motivators and goal setting where I actually talk about how to create that goal card. So definitely check that out. But this is where, when you're going after a successful real estate career, it is vitally important. I'd say one of the top three things to be able to get clear what it is, what your overall goal is for number of sales. I like number of sales because some people set sales volume goal, but it's hard to work back from a sales volume goal versus like a number of clients, right? So how many sales do I need to do at the end of the year? And so if you start actually with income, then you can work back to number of sales, then you can work back to how many agreements, appointments, and then number of conversations. But the benefit of having a very clear goal for number of sales is once you set it, you can start working towards it. It's that North Star. And so when you're showing up every day, it's like I'm going for that sale. I'm going to help somebody look to buy or sell. And that clarity is something that's really powerful in today's world, that, distraction and, there's just billions of dollars trying to get your attention. And so that kind of clarity, when you come into it with intense focus, uh, it's amazing how close you can get to the firm sale goal when you're clear, and then you're going over it on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's huge knowing what you need to do. And again, it comes back to in the conversations, in the negotiation, it's like, if it's top of mind and you're like, when it's 10 o'clock at night and you almost got the deal together and you're tired and you're going to give up, in the back of your mind is like, this has to happen now. If this doesn't happen, it might not happen, which is going to affect so many different things. So I think what it does is it just brings more intensity to every situation that you're going through out the day.
Yeah, I love that. And there's a lot of times like that, right? It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock, you're tired, everyone's tired. And it's like, you need that little extra stimulus to be able to push through the hard at that point, tied together. And clients sure are happy when you put that little extra effort in, because they got a firm sale. And if you don't, it's easy. I mean, you know how there's so many small things that can come up. You think you have a sale together, a deal together, you negotiated, you think it's done, but there's like many things, small things that can come up that can totally kibosh the deal. So that's where, like, getting those little, small things tied together right at the end, and getting that last signature, or, pushing through the last objection, and just, continuing to go through and help the client to that next stage, is really, I think, is the big differentiator between high producers and ones that just, they don't make it in the business.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Thomas. So when it comes to the negotiation, before I have one on real estate investing, and then we are rapid fire. But before I do, are there any nuggets, or, any advice that you have for the real estate agents out there to improve their negotiation skills, to be able to pull more sales or offers together?
Yeah, so definitely building good, strong rapport with the agent on the other side. That's helped it so much. I can't explain how important it is. It's if you have a good rapport with the other realtor and you respect them, the deals will come together so much easier. Versus if you look at them as the enemy, then they're gonna feel that, and they're not gonna want to put a deal together with you. You might get that one deal together, but down the road, it's gonna come back, and it's just, if in our business, if you can have strong relationships with other realtors, it's gonna serve your client so much better. And then the other thing, so rapport, and then finding out what's important for the seller. So if you're representing a buyer, find out what's important for the seller and try to figure out what their story is. Or if you're representing the seller, trying to find out what's important for the buyer and getting all that information. And then you can help to guide the process to come to an agreement that everyone's happy with.
Yeah. It seems so simple, yet when you're in the midst of a negotiation, the ability to execute on that is, it's as simple as not easy. Right. And so the ability to keep it top of mind at that time is definitely huge, for sure.
Well, and to add to that is, how many times have you got an offer in your email and you don't know anything about the buyer, and that, the seller wants to know, like, tell me about the buyer, right? And so it's, versus when you work with an agent, they call you and they tell you about the buyer and these are all the things. Now, as a listing agent, I'm feeling confident with whoever that buyer is, which is going to translate to the seller, and you're going to be more likely to want to do a deal with them. Versus, I don't know anything about these guys. So it's just it's crucial, especially in this market. During COVID, when everything would sell and you get 13 offers, you didn't have time to call every single agent and build a story. Whereas now, it's all about the relationships with these other realtors.
It's so good.
that's a really strong point for us in our market, is that we've got these strong relationships. Like, other realtors like to work with us, and for our clients, they benefit from that, from the years of building these strong relationships with other realtors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. All top agents know how important that is. And
Hmm.
so that lesson, if you really grab onto it, it'll give you longevity in the business, and it'll help you pull more deals together for clients, which will make clients happier as well. It's great advice. So, Thomas, transitioning a little bit. So, one of the things that some people, I've heard this before. It's like, oh, Thomas is your brother. He gets like, his special splits, special this, special that. One of the things that you've come on and have done is that it's the same for everyone, no matter if you're, a family member, who it is. But you've taken that and you've grown for your income through the years, and you've also invested in real estate through the years, built a massive portfolio. Um, and I'm just really proud to see what you've been able to build through the years, through a lot of hard work, and nothing's just handed to you. You work for it. Uh, how important has real estate been in buying real estate to your overall, net worth, success, and your overall, we'll just say, the financial side of things, from a winning standpoint? How important has that been for you?
It's been very good. If I hadn't done it, then we would be in a different position now. And so it was a way to, and this was on your advice, buying real estate. And I just took it. It was, at the time, it was simple advice, and it was simple not to do too at the time. But, we've done well with buying properties, and it's been, it's just, it's been something that I've been good at. And so, you always said, invest in what you know, and I know real estate. And so we've bought good property, and yeah, I wouldn't do it. I would do it different. I would have got more.
What about more? Yeah. That's one of the biggest regrets I hear. But you did a lot, so that's a big check. But yeah, it's interesting that no matter how much you buy, when you look at the pricing today, is like you look back and I wish I would have bought more. But the point here is like, or the question that might come up, Thomas, is, well, that's when pricing, you're buying townhomes for, 200,000-300,000, and they're 800 to 700,000, maybe 650 now in our area. But it's like they're not affordable, or this or that. What advice would you have for them, for the agents out there saying, listen, I'm not gonna buy any real estate anymore? Would you still advise them to purchase real estate? Do you still think it's a good investment in today's market?
Yeah, I think if you can find a property that cash flows, um, I think that's the ultimate. If it doesn't, I wouldn't. I don't. If it's not cash flowing, you're speculating, which I wouldn't do that right now. I think that there's other things out there. I know with the like with Faris Capital, that's investing in real estate, where you're still investing in real estate, but it's more hands off, and it's the same. It's just a different model, right? And so finding big returns, maybe it's not here in the short term. It could be back, but if a property cash flows, then I do think it's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It was Robert Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He talks about anything that cash flows is something, or anything that's an asset, something that puts money in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
A liability, something that takes money out. So, very good. All right, Thomas, we're at rapid fire here. I could go down many different pathways, but I think the overall conversation, there's been a lot of fruit. So, I have three last questions here for you, and then we're going to wrap up. You ready? All right. First question. As you know, I'm a big reader. I love reading books. Which book for you has made the biggest impact in your career?
So number one book would be number one best-selling book of all time, Bible. And then Think and Grow Rich. That's a classic. That's, I think that's the first book anyone should read if they're starting in real estate.
Yeah, 100%. And what's interesting, actually, is the Bible is a really good business book too.
Yeah.
there's a lot of business principles and success principles that are in there when you start
Mm-hmm.
working for them, which is a pretty cool thing. All right. Second question is, what are 3 words that best describe you?
So I guess steady, competitive, and loyal.
All right. And final question, what final piece of advice would you give the real estate agents out there to be able to help take their business to the next level?
I would find a very good like somebody that you can follow and learn from. If you're new in the business, I 100% find somebody that you want to model and be like, and then learn from them, and just try and learn as much as you can from them.
Yeah. So good. Such great advice. All top people have done that. And so I think that's a great way to finish off here. Thomas, if for the agents out there listening, if they want to refer, so anywhere pretty much north of Toronto, right? So maybe talk a little bit about the areas you serve. And then if they have any buyers or sellers that they're looking to refer, what's the best way they can send to you direct?
So yeah, so um, my email, thomas@faristeam.ca. You can call me. My number is easy to find online. You just type in my name and my number will come up. So really easy to get a hold of. You just call the team and you can ask for me. So we're pretty easy to find. Just type in my name or Faris Team and you'll be able to find me.
That's amazing. So definitely, yeah, if you're thinking about referring a client, send it over to Thomas and they'll be in really good hands. Thomas, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really good to reminisce with you, my younger brother, and it's been a blessing working with you through the years. And really appreciate you taking the time here.
Thanks, Mark.
Right on. So if you guys like the show, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and maybe you could share it with anyone that is thinking about either getting into real estate or thinking about taking their business to the next level. You can check out faristeam.ca if you are thinking about a change when it comes to where you are working. If you're working north of Toronto, Barrie, Midland, Aurelia. We have Alliston, Newmarket. These are the areas that we're serving in today's market. So you feel free to reach out if you want to have a conversation with our head of sales. Again, guys, really appreciate you. I love you guys and keep on going full out.